Welcome to Retro Reprise. Justice League is just a few days away, and I'm going to show you how to beat one of my favorite games on the NES, Batman. Batman for the NES was loosely tied with 1989's Batman the Movie, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. The movie was huge, making over $250 million, but more importantly, Batman had merchandising, toys, books, lunchboxes, and of course, video games. Batman the video game was developed and published by Sunsoft and was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in February of 1990. While the game does follow the movie, it's more of an adaptation, taking elements from the film and the comics. Characters such as Deadshot, Heatwave, and Killer Moth make an appearance, even though they were never in the Burton film. This probably stems from the fact that this was never intended to be a movie tie-in game. Despite not being completely faithful to the movie, this is easily one of the best movie tie-in games for the NES. The story opens with Gotham City getting ready to celebrate its 200th anniversary, and the Joker has released a deadly nerve toxin to terrorize its citizens. It's up to Batman to traverse the various locations in Gotham City and put a stop to the Joker and his thugs. On the D-pad you have left, right, and down for crouching. A jumps. Depending on how long you hold the button down will determine how high Batman will jump. A also controls your wall jumps. A quick tap will be a shorter hop, a longer press will be a bigger jump. You'll need to master this seemingly easy technique if you want to beat the game. B is your attack button. Like many Sunsoft games, select and start functions are swapped. Select pauses the game while start is your weapon selection. Defeated enemies will drop power-ups, a B for points, hearts for health, and bullet icons referred to as pellets in the manual for your weapon refills. Pellets are the ammo for the various types of weapons that Batman will take on his adventure. Batman's default weapon are his fists. They don't use any pellets, and they're the strongest weapon in his arsenal, but they also have the shortest range. Next is the Batarang. The Batarang has a further reach and can be fired in rapid succession. Each Batarang uses up 1 pellet. The Spear Gun reaches across the screen and uses up 2 pellets, but it takes longer to fire. The final weapon is the Dirk. It uses up 3 pellets and can also travel across the screen, but it splits into 3 projectiles, giving it more vertical coverage. Here's some tips to keep you alive in Batman. Learn to master the wall jump. There are parts in the game where just jamming on the jump button will end up costing you health, whereas a light touch will get you by unscathed. Try to save your pellets as much as possible. You get a max of 99. Using your weapons over your fists might seem fun, but you may need them in later boss battles, so conserve your ammo. Speaking of weapons, don't forget to set Batman back to his fists when you're done dispatching a henchman. Using a weapon when you didn't mean to could end up costing you health points. If you take damage, move on. There's a possibility that you'll miss a jump or take damage from an enemy. Take the damage and move forward. Some enemies regenerate, and backtracking won't help you. Finally, use the game's rules to your advantage. There are infinite continues, and your pellet count remains the same from when you died. This can come in handy, especially on the last level. If you die and you have to continue, take the opportunity to farm for pellets, so you're well stocked when it comes to the boss battle. Now that you know what to look out for, it's time to take on the Joker. Level 1 is an introductory stage, giving you plenty of time to learn how Batman operates. There's nothing too challenging here, just learn the pattern of enemy fire and you should be safe. Make your way to the door on the right and go through. Now you're on to the second part of the stage. Here you'll need to look out for traveling landmines that will speed toward you when you get close. You can either choose to trigger them by running away before they explode, or you can jump over them. Make your way over to the wall of Heatwaves. Yes, that's supposed to be Heatwave from the comics. And completely bypass them by using the wall jump on the narrower section to the left. Continue going left and make your way past the RC Spike cars. They will move faster if you're on the same level that they are, so pay attention to your timing. When you get to the top, make your way to the right and you will come across some flying henchmen with guns. Just use your Batarang to take them out. Keep making your way to the right and you'll come across a big drop. At the bottom there will be a ninja waiting for you. Select your Batarang and creep up on him until he runs at you. Spam your Batarangs until he disappears, then make your way to the right to another door. There you will fight your first boss, Killer Moth. Killer Moth is a pushover. Select your Batarang again and wait for him to move to the right. Then he'll swoop down to attack you. Jam as many Batarangs in his face as you can. He'll fly back up to the top of the screen and repeat his pattern. If you do it right, you can finish him off in about 2 animation cycles. Stage 2 is the Access Chemical Plant. There are some new enemies here. Guys in mech suits that will take a bit more damage to defeat. This level will also throw in some platforming elements with acid pits and acid dripping from the ceiling. Just time your jumps carefully. You should be used to the way Batman moves by now, so it shouldn't be much of a challenge. Keep making your way to the right. Eventually you'll get to a point where you can't just jump without taking damage. You'll have to jump, push back against the top platform, then wall jump across. You might not get it the first time, but with a little practice, you can master it. Continue to the right, be aware of traps that are in the vicinity, and make your way to the door. In the second part of the stage, you're going to be in a room with electric floors. Be careful jumping. Use shorter jumps in this section and watch your timing when jumping onto platforms. Some will have spiked RC cars waiting for you. Continue your way to the right until you are forced to go up. Aim your wall jumps so that you are landing on the side of the platforms. And when you get to the top, use the smaller jump to avoid getting shocked from the ceiling. Once you get to the top, wait for the RC car to move away from you and wall jump to the platform. Or you can just take the damage like I did. Keep going to the right until you come across another section where you have to wall jump to safety. Go ahead and make the jump, but duck immediately afterwards because there's a gunman waiting for you. If you haven't noticed by now, the wall jumps are getting trickier. The next wall jump section will require you to do a long jump to the right, a shallow wall jump to the left, a small jump to the right to the next platform, then wait for the henchman to run and kill himself on the electric floor, then wall jump to safety. Make your way to the right and you're done with the electrical floors for now. The next room has hatches attached to the ceiling that will drop bombs. The bombs move too fast for you to avoid. What you want to do is when the bombs drop, punch them leaving behind an item. Punch 3 bombs, and the hatch won't open again until you collect the items. So punch 3 bombs and move. Continue moving down, and now you're at the part of the stage with conveyor belts. This stage is all about good timing. The only piece of advice that I can give here is don't just fall down pits. Jump and you'll have some control over Batman while he falls. This gives you the ability to avoid spiked walls on the way down. Make your way to the left until you have to fall down a giant pit with spikes on the side. Then start making your way to the right. Here you'll come across conveyor belt platforms with spikes on the floor and spikes placed on the ceiling if you jump too high. The trick is to let yourself walk off the edge of the conveyor belt and use your wall jump to get to the other side. Continue to the right and you'll face the second boss, the Machine Intelligence System. When you first enter the room, the MIS will be shooting at you. Pay close attention to what gun is firing. If it's the top gun, duck to avoid its fire. If it's the bottom gun, jump over the bullets. Make your way across the conveyor belt, ducking underneath the bottom gun's bullets. Then use your fist to take out the bottom gun. The top gun will shoot over your head so you can relax a little bit. Just time your attack and you should be fine. Once the guns are out of commission, wall jump to the higher platform, being careful not to touch the electric wall. Select the spear gun and shoot at the eye on the left side of the screen. Time your shot so you avoid the lasers or the spear won't make it across the screen. Once the left eye explodes, immediately drop down to the bottom platform, or the eye on the right will hit you with its spread shot. Now it's just a matter of timing your jumps to get to the same platform as the eye. Get close enough to punch the eye, then duck when you see it change over to the gun. A few smacks later and you're headed to level 3, the Underground Conduit. The Underground Conduit definitely ups the difficulty. Not gonna lie, you will benefit from some level memorization here. So if this is your first time playing through the game, don't get frustrated. It will take a little practice. When you start out, don't just run to the right, because this level introduces these jumping guys. They are hell to deal with. The best way to take them out is to creep to the right, select the spear gun, and shoot at them when they're about halfway on the screen. You will need to work on your timing because the spear gun has a delay. Fire the gun at the peak of the monster's jump, and you will make short work of them. Start making your way to the right, and you'll run into another jumping monster. Follow the same strategy, but instead of shooting at the peak of the jump, wait for the monster to land. That way you hit him when he jumps in the air. Don't forget to cycle back to your fists when you're done. After taking out that jumping monster, jump in the middle of the platform he was jumping on, and jump again immediately to avoid the speeding landmines. From here, it's some basic platforming. Be sure to avoid the turbines, they will cause damage. When you reach the part with the RC cars, just jump to the right of the turbine and take them out. From here, the obstacles repeat themselves, so take your time and move along slowly. There is no time limit, so you don't have to speed through the level. Make your way to the right and enter the door for the next section. Here, you're going to be in a stream of slime. Don't worry about this. It doesn't seem to hurt you like the acid and the Access Chemical Plant stage. Make your way to the right. You'll have to do a little bit of a blind fall, but hug the wall to the right and there's a ledge for you to land on. Then make your way to the left. Once you land, jump immediately, or you will take damage from a speeding landmine. Start making your way to the right unless you want to collect items. This is where the game is going to throw you into a nearly impossible situation. Fall straight down and take damage from floor turbines, or fall to the right and immediately take damage from a jumping monster. There is no good way to do it. Before you land, select the Batarang. You're not going to get the benefit of taking out the jumping monster from a distance, so do the best you can. There will be another jumping monster at the top of the stairs to the right, but you'll know how to deal with him by now. Here, the game will lighten up on you for a bit with a wall jumping section. Just watch your timing with RC cars. Once you get to the top, you are now in the cavern section. Stage 3-3, the cavern section, can be a pain. If you're not careful, you can fall and have to start all the way from the beginning. This part of the stage also introduces tanks that shoot diagonal fireballs that are tricky to avoid. My best advice for this stage is to take it slow and only move when you know it's safe to do so. At the bottom of the cavern where you start, you'll run into some familiar traps. Then you'll encounter the first tank. Select the Batarang and try to duck underneath its fire. Take out the Heatwave guy and make your way up to the second level of the cavern. Make your way to the right until you see the RC car. Here's where the game will get tricky again. Just off screen to the left is another tank. Your best shot is to jump over the RC car and duck underneath the tank's fire. To take out the RC car behind you, then go after the tank. On the third level of the cavern, I use my Batarangs a bit more liberally. Time your jumps while you're making your way to the right and you should be fine. Here, you're going to have to do some wall jumping. Hopefully you have it down by now because it becomes more difficult. You'll need to time your jump so you avoid taking damage from the heat waves and avoid touching the turbines. It's easier said than done, but it is doable. Once you make it to the top, start heading left. You'll come across a tank, but it should be a piece of cake after everything else you've gone through by now. Continue your way to the left and face the Electrocutioner. I don't really have a strategy for this guy, just select your Batarangs and go to town. I just take the damage and take him down as quickly as possible. Once you're done with him, it's time to move on to level 4, the Laboratory Ruins. The Laboratory Ruins is going to compound everything that you've dealt with for the last few levels and throw them at you here. By now, you know how to handle every situation. Just make your way to the right and get through the door. Stage 4-2 offers some new challenges with wall jumping. Again, timing is the key to all of it. Try to avoid the floor through that section because there are gears that will cause damage. This section is just going to take practice. Make your way to the right, then down. There is a section with gears midway up the screen that's pretty much impossible to get through without taking damage, so just take the damage and move on. Stage 4-3 starts with you having to make leaps of faith through holes in the ground. You can take your time and fight the various robots through here, but I just jump down them as fast as possible. Memorizing where the holes are going to be will help you take less damage on your way down. When you get to the bottom, you'll be near a pit of fire. This is very similar to the caverns in earlier stages, so there's not much to talk about. Just be aware that if you fall here, you may end up in the fire and taking damage, so plan your jumps accordingly. When you make your way towards the top, you'll come to a wall jumping part. The added difficulty here is that some of the platforms that you'll need to land on are conveyor belts. This section can be frustrating and will take some practice to get through. Just remember what you've learned from the previous sections and you'll eventually get through it. Once you make it through, you'll come across to a part with stairs that contain tanks, heat waves, and RC cars. Again, by this time you've dealt with all of that before, so you should know how to deal with them. Just take it one obstacle at a time. Once you make it to the top, you'll come across armored thugs with speeding bombs coming towards you. Just avoid these the best you can and make your way to the left and get ready for a battle with the dual container alarm boss. Who comes up with these names? This battle is less daunting than what it seems. Make your way up to the platform on the left, then duck and punch. You'll hit a container and stay underneath its laser. Once it passes you, drop down to the left. Repeat this process until you're left with one container. When you get down to one container, it will make its way to the right-hand side of the screen. Get to the floor and punch it as fast as you can. If you punch while ducking, you can damage the container and it will move through you without harming you. Do it fast enough and it won't have time to move back and forth across the screen. Once you're done with the dual container alarm, it's time to move on to the final stage, the cathedral. The cathedral is thankfully short but very difficult. Here's where all your wall jumping prowess will come into play. In general, you've seen all of this stuff before. The difference will be the timing for the wall jumps have changed, so expect to practice this level a bit before you master it. When you get to the wall jumping section, there are some things that you'll need to look out for. The arm robots have a firing pattern of 1 punch, pause, then 2 punches. Make note of that while you're wall jumping your way up the cathedral. The only other advice is to avoid the gears because they deal damage too. Once you make it past the wall jump section, it's now time to face off against Firebug. The battle with Firebug is easier to talk about than pull off. Your best option is to select the Batarang, jump over Firebug's fireball, and when Firebug jumps at you, attack as soon as possible. Try not to move around too much or Firebug will close in on you. Once Firebug is dealt with, it's finally time to face the Joker. The battle with the Joker is another one that's easy to explain, but difficult to execute. Immediately jump over his bullets and start to punch him. When he lifts his hand in the air, step back to avoid his lightning strike. Punch him again so he runs through you, then repeat the process. Do this enough times, and eventually... And that was Batman for the NES. In my opinion, one of the best games for the system. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next Retro Reprise. Thanks for watching Retro Reprise. If you're ready to take on the Joker, then help support the channel by clicking on my Amazon affiliate link in the description and get Batman, the video game for the NES. If you enjoyed this walkthrough, then click on the subscribe button. And if you're looking for more content, check out my review of the Retrobit Super Retro controller for the Super Nintendo. Or you can check out my behind the scenes of this episode with the commentary track. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next Retro Reprise.